Well, hey there. This here is the Unihertz Jelly Max. This is the world's smallest 5G smartphone, at least as of July in 2024. And, she's thick. Yeah, keep watching, it'll make sense in a minute. Now, if you've been subscribed to the channel for a minute, you guys have heard the name Unihertz. They've sent me phones before. Whenever they have a new release, they send one to me at no cost, and I review it. They don't pay me in US dollars, they pay me in jelly beans. You think I'm kidding, but this is their jelly smartphone lineup, other than that last one here. That's the Unihertz Atom, the world's smallest rugged smartphone. Oh yeah, 2.45 inches, 16 megapixel back camera, and IP68 rated. Doesn't get better than that, baby. The downside is it only has Android 9, but I ski with this every year, and it doesn't freeze in my pocket like my other phones do. Then there's the Jelly 2. This one actually runs Android 11, so a bit of an upgrade, but it's fat. Like, it's like a jelly bean. But for that reason, it actually fits in my hand all right and doesn't slide around. Don't forget the Jelly 2E. This is a cheaper option. Unfortunately, downgrade of a processor, but it oddly runs Android 12. You can play PUBG on this thing, Call of Duty, the whole gamut. Unihertz is a weird company, man. And this is their newest, the Jelly Star. It's the thickest of their mini phones, but it runs Android 13 and it's got some really interesting features that are pretty cool. Like, this bean's got a 48 megapixel back camera. It's got an NFC reader, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of internal storage, and a little speckle of nothing phoneness in its genetics. Hey, I don't see the point in the lights, honestly, but in a time where smartphone manufacturers are boring, I like to see Unihertz being bold and trying new things, so I got a collection of beans, and it's good stuff. So anyways, the Jelly Max we're looking at right here, it's like a plus-size version of the Jelly Star. I'm not going to go through the unpacking because that's boring and I don't read manuals anyways, but it's got a 66-watt charge block, dude. The charge block is almost bigger than the phone itself. Nice. And first impressions are good. You've got transparent plastic on the back. You can see the NFC reader. Above that is a fingerprint reader, camera, speakers, flashlight, whole gamut. Good stuff. Looks futuristic, kind of. Also, kind of weird, but it does feel good in my hands. It's just thick. This thing is fat. Let's get a true measurement on this because online people are asking. You've got a 5-inch top to bottom screen, and diagonal it's like 5 1/4, so 5.25. And a measurement left to right, about 2.5 inches, so pretty small. And here's a side-by-side look to the Jelly Star. I'm all about this size personally. So, like, the phone, it just kind of looks goofy because it's so thick, and I'll get an actual measurement on this thing in a minute, but for some reason, it naturally feels all right in my hand, kind of like an iPhone 3G. Remember that bubble of a phone? Impressively, the thing's got 16 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of internal storage for some good stuff, which I'll show you in a minute, and it's got a MediaTek Dimensity 7300 processor. So if you were asking yourself, hey, is the Jelly Max capable of playing some of that Call of Duty Mobile? Well, here's your answer, dude. You could play some Call of Duty Mobile if you really want. There wasn't any lagging or limitations of gameplay other than I have chorizo-sized fingers. So on this thing being thick, when I say thick, I'm talking half an inch thick. The smartphone is fat. Like, comparing it to an iPhone 11 Pro, it's like almost 3 of those thick. So the phone just looks kind of goofy, but it's alright, we still love you. So what about the camera? Well, the camera is weird. Unihertz specs say that it's a 100 megapixel back camera, and the phone they sent me is a prototype, and I hope that's the reason these photos have a purple tint to them, and it's actually the same thing on the video. So I'm taking a picture of a white box to help provide some clarity into this so you guys could see that purple tint. Can you see that? Yeah, I'm unsure why the camera's doing that, but there's a very clear purple tint to the photos I'm taking, and you can see them here, and it's the same for the video. But I'm sure it will not be the same for non-prototype versions of the phone. That is, at least, I hope so. And here's the first clip of the video. The camera quality of the Jelly Max. Now, before I show you my favorite feature of the phone, I do want to show you guys some cool stuff. First one being is it does have an IR blaster, so you can actually program this to be a remote to a lot of the electronics that you have around your house at least from this list right here. And you wouldn't have to use this. I'm sure you could get a third-party application and do it, but I have used this on previous Unihertz phones and actually controlled our TV in our living room. So to do it, you just press a TV and then select the model and set it up, and then you pretty much have a remote interface on your smartphone that you can control your TV with. Oh yeah, they've also got an NFC application, which is pretty simple. You just set up your card on it. Unsure how secure that is, especially on this prototype that I've got here, but it's there. And for one of the most exciting parts of this smartphone, it's actually not for any features, it's that the processor is strong enough that I could use this as a mini emulator in my back pocket. Now, the biggest reason I'm excited I can emulate on this is because it just fits into my hands so well, because of its weird shape. Because it's such a bulge of a phone, it's easy to hold on to, kind of like a controller, and super easy to emulate games. So I'm gonna start on Dolphin emulator, and we're gonna play Hulk, which is a classic that I played on GameCube when I was younger. Absolute blast. I do need to mess with the settings so it's fit to screen, but yeah, there wasn't any lag or latency in playing this game. The only difficulty was the controls are so huge on the screen, and my fingers are also huge, so being able to control was difficult at first, but wasn't bad at all. Comment below what games you guys played on GameCube when you were younger, or maybe you've never played GameCube, and if you want me to make a tutorial on how to do this, I'm more than happy to do that. Just be sure to comment below, and if you comment, you gotta subscribe. It's a requirement. I was also super excited that PPSSPP emulator worked like a charm for one of my favorite games, that being Daxter.
Alright, everything with more than 2 legs start trembling, cause the Daxtonator is in the building.
Now I know, my subscribers, you've heard this a million times, but growing up I didn't have consoles like Xbox or PlayStation. I had the handheld, so I had the Game Boys, I had the PlayStation Portables, the PS Vitas. So emulating these PlayStation Portable games, it just brings me back, dude. It's pure nostalgia. And I'll ask the same question again. Curious to know what games you guys played on PlayStation Portable growing up, or maybe you didn't. And if you want to know how to do this, I can create a guide and post it on the channel if you guys want to know. But the gameplay on this is awesome. Again, no lag, no latency, no issues with this other than my fingers and the small screen being in the way, but again, it's pretty good gameplay. Okay, so coming back to these mini jelly phones, I used one as a daily driver for about a month, and the hardest thing was text messaging and navigating with maps. As you can see, it's difficult to just send a text message if you're not using swipe, and I didn't always use swipe. What I noticed with the Jelly Max is it's just big enough for you to type with 2 fingers. And here you could actually get a true perspective on how small the phone is in my hands. But I was able to type this message right here in like less than half the time as I was on the other phone where I'm forced to use 1 finger. So if you've used the mini Jelly phones, this is just big enough for you to feel comfortable to use it as a daily driver, in my personal opinion. Sure, it's a bit goofy and looks weird, but I'm gonna daily drive this for a couple months and see how I like it. I'll switch from my iPhone and give this a try. I come from Android either way, so we're gonna give it another run. I'm constantly getting questions about these phones here, so I went down in the description below and put the Amazon links there so you guys can check them out there if you'd like. I've also included the Kickstarter for the Jelly Max, where they're selling that phone for like 40% off right now, so be sure to check all the phones out down in the description below. And be sure to subscribe if you liked the video. Also, I rolled out channel memberships again, so if you want some of those channel member perks, be sure to become a member. All the details are in the description as well. Thanks for watching. See you guys. Bye now.